A demon almost killed me, and some guy joked he wished his wife would do it. The ghost in my house tried to warn me I'm an idiot for not listening. I stumbled in from a double shift this morning, my bones feeling like they were filled with sand. The house was quiet, too quiet. I dropped my keys on the counter and went to the bathroom to splash some water on my face. That's when I saw it. Fogged onto the surface of the mirror, like someone had just breathed on it, were 4 words. They want your marrow. Whoa, okay, new messaging, a voice said, clear as if you were standing next to me. It was Kaz. This is a serious escalation. Marrow? Like bone marrow? Javier sounded more amused than concerned. Dude, is he gonna start a black market organ business out of his ribcage? It's metaphorical, you moron, Kaz shot back. Marrow is the core, the essence. The spirit tried to warn him about his breath. Now it's warning him about his soul. Or maybe it's just really into soup. Javier cackled. I felt my stomach turn. I wiped the mirror clean, but the words reappeared a second later, the condensation bleeding down the glass like tears. I was too fucking tired for this. My brain felt like a dial tone. I ignored them, ignored the writing, and collapsed onto the living room sofa. That was my second mistake. I woke up and the world was wrong. It felt like I was at the bottom of a swimming pool. The afternoon light filtering through the blinds was thick and yellow, distorted. Every sound was muffled, distant, and I couldn't move. Not a finger, not an eyelid. Just my eyes, straining in their sockets, trying to make sense of the room. That's when I saw the shadow in the corner of the ceiling. It wasn't a normal shadow. It was darker than the absence of light. It pulsed, slowly, like something breathing. Then it began to drip. A long, slender shape unpeeled itself from the ceiling, descending with a silence that screamed. It was a woman, I think, wrapped in what looked like old yellowed linen, stained and tight against a skeletal frame. Her hair was a black, wet-looking tangle that hid her face. She lowered herself over me, her movements unnaturally smooth, and straddled my chest. The weight wasn't human, it was the weight of a tombstone. It pressed down, a crushing, absolute force that squeezed the air from my lungs. My ribs groaned. Panic, cold and sharp, flooded my veins. My heart hammered against my sternum, a frantic bird trapped in a collapsing cage. I tried to scream, but my throat was locked tight. The tangled hair shifted, and I saw her face. Her skin was the color of old parchment. Her lips were blue, pulled back from gray gums in a rictus grin. But her eyes were just pits. 2 wet black holes that reflected the terror in my own. She leaned down, her face inches from mine. The grin widened. Her mouth opened, a cavernous, impossible darkness. And then something dripped. A single drop of thick, black liquid, like crude oil, landed on my lips. It was cold. It didn't run, it just sat there. Then another drop fell, and another. A steady stream of this viscous fluid poured from her mouth into mine. I couldn't choke. I couldn't spit it out. I could only lie there, paralyzed as it filled my mouth, coated my tongue, and slid down my throat. It felt like swallowing tar and slid down my throat. It burned with a chemical cold, a creeping frost that spread through my esophagus and into my chest. I felt it fill my lungs, every bronchus, every alveolus. It was a horrifyingly intimate violation, this thick, foreign substance displacing the very air I needed to live. It settled, heavy and solid, a perfect cast of my respiratory system. Then she pulled back, still grinning, and the lungs she had made for me took a breath. My chest expanded with a force that wasn't my own. The pressure was unbelievable. I thought my ribs would splinter, that my organs would rupture. The air it drew in was alien. It was thin and cold and carried the scent of grave dirt and stagnant water. It offered no life. It only fueled the agony. She kept me alive, breathing for me with these parasitic lungs, her dark eyes gleaming with something that looked like ecstasy. I don't know how long I lay there, trapped in a cycle of excruciating foreign breaths. The world dissolved into a smear of yellow light and black pain. I woke up choking. A violent heave racked my body, and I spewed a thick, black substance all over the floor. It smelled foul, metallic, and rotten. I rolled off the couch, gasping, my real lungs screaming for air, burning as if I'd inhaled acid. I scrambled on all fours to the front door, clawed it open, and stumbled out into the cold evening air. I didn't grab my keys, my wallet, nothing. I just got in my car and drove. As I sped down the street, vomit still on my chin, sobbing so hard I could barely see the road, the laughter started. "Holy shit," Javier howled. "What the actual fuck was that?" A parasitic entity, Kaz said, his voice buzzing with academic excitement. "It's a form of the Mara, the night hag, but I've never heard of one that builds a nest. It was colonizing him. It was making him its own personal bong, dude. Breathing its ghost weed through him. The imagery, though," Kaz mused, completely ignoring him. "Reaching down, filling the lungs. It's an inversion of the divine gift of life. Creation through violation. Incredible." I threw up again, a thin, watery bile that spattered across the passenger seat. "I wish a goth chick would do that to me," Javier said, his voice deadpan serious. "Just ruin my whole respiratory system. I'm into it." "You need therapy," Kaz said, but he was chuckling. Still, total codependence. He can't breathe without his demonic lung mommy now. I just drove faster, trying to outrun their voices, trying to outrun the feeling of that cold, heavy weight that still settled deep in my chest. I'm at a shitty all-night coffee shop now, 3 towns over. I've had 6 cups. I can't stop shaking. Every time I close my eyes, I feel it. The pressure. The cold. I am never going back to that house. But I don't think it matters. I think she's a part of me now.